Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well and thanks for being here. This is the reading for the full moon in Sagittarius, which is coming up on the 11th of June. So the astrology of this chart certainly looks interesting, so we'll start there as we usually do, and then we'll look at our tarot spread and see what comes up there. I can often see a connection between the astrology and the tarot, but if you're not at all interested in the astrology, you can just skip through to the tarot section. I'll have the timestamps for each section in the description box. Right, so we'll just do our love pause now before we start. This is where we pause the video and send some love out into the universe. Another option is to do a Ho'oponopono prayer, which is to say the 4 sentences. Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, and please forgive me. Thanks to everyone who does the pause. The time to pause is now, and I'll see you all on the next slide. All right, so here we are with our full moon chart. There is a bit to cover, so I'll just work my way through it in some kind of order and hopefully it will flow all right. So I'm just going to start with the full moon axis, which I've highlighted in purple. So the sun in Gemini is at the bottom of the chart and the moon in Sagittarius is at the top. And this is a mutable sign axis, and one very noticeable aspect is that we kind of have a grand cross formation happening, and that's because the nodal axis is in the other 2 mutable signs, because of course the north node is in Pisces, which is on the left side of this chart, and the south node is in Virgo, which is over on the right side. So as some of you may know, we recently had a grand cross in fixed signs, and that was quite a tense grand cross because obviously the squares themselves mean tension and fixed signs tend to be inflexible. So this is a mutable grand cross, so it's not quite the same thing because the mutable signs are actually in themselves a lot more flexible. That's one of their traits. So the squares here, I feel like these are challenges, but because these are all mutable signs, they actually do have that ability to compromise and find a workable solution, and maybe that's even a win-win kind of solution. So it's not the worst kind of grand cross to have. Now the north node is obviously important because that's the energy we're meant to be embracing. But I feel like this full moon is going to bring up some questions or pressure points that we might need to consider and adapt to. So I feel like this is continuing to be in that, this is about us continuing to be in that north node in Pisces energy, but perhaps we have to make some adjustments so that the other parts of our life are still going to work. So if you have access to your birth chart, just have a look where this grand cross is happening in your chart. And in particular, we're talking about this area of about 20 degrees of Sagittarius and Pisces. Now, the North Node here is at 22 degrees of Pisces, but because it does travel in a retrograde direction, it's going to be getting to 20 degrees as well after this full moon. Now, the ruler of the full moon is Jupiter, which has just entered the sign of Cancer. And that's actually the sign that's ruled by the moon. And so because the moon is in Sagittarius and Jupiter is in Cancer, there's actually a mutual reception happening there because they're in the sign basically that's ruled by the other. Now, mutual receptions are actually pretty good as well because it tends to mean the energies do work well together or better than you would expect. So I feel with that the energy of compromising is coming in again. Now Jupiter is also conjunct Mercury, and they're both in Cancerian territory, which is obviously we're talking about a feminine sign, a water sign, one that's quite emotional and intuitive. And that conjunction is highlighted in orange at the bottom of this chart. Cancer is also a cardinal sign, and that's sort of bringing us to the next area of tension in this chart, which is that Jupiter and Mercury in Cancer are basically in a square to Saturn and Neptune in Aries, which are highlighted in yellow at the left of the chart. So we've talked about these 2 signs in Aries before because they do represent new beginnings in our life, because Aries is obviously the first sign of the zodiac, and so these two planets are starting a new cycle now that they have entered Aries. So again, consult your birth chart if you have it and check which house relates to the early degrees of Aries, because that's where the new beginnings are happening. And there's a challenge coming in here, obviously, from Jupiter and Mercury in Cancer. So again, there's something to consider in relation to the new beginnings. And this might be something we're feeling or something intuitive that comes through. So check out what house those Cancerian energies are related to as well. Now, just the nature of the planets we're talking about, Jupiter and Mercury will tend to move through Cancer more quickly than Saturn and Neptune, which will be moving a bit more slowly through Aries. So this is a temporary influence, but it's worth paying attention to because Cancer is such an intuitive, emotionally sensitive sign, and Jupiter is amplifying something in that territory. So there might be something that comes through about what you need in order to feel good about your new beginning. So Cancer is a sign that relates to home and family and nurturing maternal kinds of energies. So if there is a message coming through in that part of your chart, it's perhaps going to relate to not forgetting about what is nourishing and supporting you. So maybe this new beginning has to factor that in as well. See what I mean? There's a lot going on in terms of things to consider and allowing the right compromises to happen. We've also got interactions here for Mars and Venus. So Mars is in Leo and it's squaring Uranus in Taurus, and that's quite a volatile interaction. So Mars is fiery by nature and it's in a fixed fire sign. And then Uranus is quite unpredictable and rebellious, and it's obviously shaking things up in a fixed earth sign. So there might be some kind of shake up in your material life, and Mars is going to be quite reactive as well. With that dynamic, there's a tempering influence coming in from Chiron in Aries, which is in a trine to Mars. Now, Chiron is known as the wounded healer, but Chiron has many attributes, and he was also known to be a wise teacher. So I'm feeling that influence here, to be honest. So Chiron has been moving through Aries and healing our sense of self-worth. And with it being here trining Mars, I feel like Chiron will bring through some wisdom about staying true to who we are, perhaps. Mars and Chiron are on this chart highlighted in blue. Chiron's the one on the left and Mars is the one on the right. And as I said before, Venus is also in a couple of tricky aspects. So Venus in Taurus, Venus is in Taurus, which is one of the signs Venus rules, but it's actually squaring Pluto in Aquarius, and it's also in an opposition to Lilith in Scorpio. So I guess that is like a T-square or something, isn't it? But basically we have Pluto transforming things in the Aquarius section of the chart, and that's challenging Venus. And Lilith in Scorpio is quite an intense energy as well, because Lilith is an energy that wants to be wild and free, and Scorpio might mean there is more going on than meets the eye. So Scorpio is about transformation, but it's also about emotional depth and secrets and mysteries and hidden motivations and so on. So I kind of feel for Venus, there might be a lot of pressure there. And the mitigation here is coming in from Jupiter and Mercury in Cancer, because they are actually sextiling Venus and providing a bit of support. So on this chart, Venus is highlighted in red on the left of the chart. And then Lilith is the other planet highlighted in red over at the top of the chart on the right-hand side. Pluto I've got highlighted in yellow at about 11 degrees on this, or 11 o'clock on this chart, I should say. Now, lastly, all the other things highlighted in yellow are showing that the outer planets are in a minor grand trine formation, even though Uranus is still in Taurus. So they're all, as I said, in yellow, and this configuration means they're all supporting each other. I just tend to see this as meaning that these cosmic influences that are affecting us collectively are actually in alignment with each other. And so that always makes me feel like there is a divine plan. So even if we're individually being pushed around in different ways, there is a big picture version of the story where things do make sense. And I personally find that a bit comforting. So it's like a message in a way to trust in the divine plan. Okay, so this is a complex chart, and I do feel like this might be a good one if you have access to your birth chart, just to see where all these interactions are unfolding. The overall impression I got with this chart is that we might need to work on some compromises or understand how different parts of our life do affect other parts of our life, and just to work out the right balance of everything, so that whatever we're doing is going to work for the long term. So you don't want to have situations where you're focused on one part of your chart and everything else falls apart, or you're not putting enough attention in one part of your life when it needs it. Like you just don't want to get the balance wrong. So I do feel like this is that kind of chart, because often we notice that a lot, don't we? Like if you for example, have a career that's doing well, it could end up hurting your marriage or your family, or maybe, things like that. It happens. So, or family situations that cause problems for you professionally, like this sort of thing does happen in life. And what you need to, I guess, ultimately, if you're aiming towards reaching a state of happiness and fulfillment long term, you kind of want your life to have the right balance of everything, where things are working together fairly well. So basically, whatever comes up during this period, just bring it all to the table. Consider all the things. Make sure you've made the right compromises and the right plans for everything. And even if you might have to adjust your goals or adjust how quickly you reach a certain outcome, it might just be that it's worth having a good think about it, and then coming up with a plan that's going to work and give you the most positive outcome in the end. And that's the kind of outcome, like I said, where you're happy enough with how things are in most parts of your life. And this is really the strength of mutable energies, is that they can adjust and adapt to changes that are unfolding in our lives. So if we need good solutions that are going to work, these are the right energies to sort that one out. Now I'll head over to the tarot section next. Sometimes I find when there's a lot going on in the astrology section, the tarot can kind of point to one specific aspect and highlight that as being the thing to focus on more. That's definitely happened in past lunar readings. So I'll see if the tarot reading gives us any extra guidance, because like I said, there is a lot going on here. So it would be nice to pick up on the thing that maybe we really should focus on most. All right, I'll see you over there. All right, so here we are. This is the spread for this full moon reading. The decks I've used are always listed in the description box. Now, at the bottom of the deck, we've got the Ten of Wands, which is about someone who's carried a lot of burdens. It was perhaps expected of them, and they didn't want to let people down who were counting on them. So I always think of this as someone who is sacrificing their comfort in order to support other people's needs. So what this image shows in this deck, however, is that the wands have been put down, and that's really great. And so what I'm getting is that whatever the burdens were, it's been handled. And it's interesting to see a fox in this image. So it's giving me the sense that maybe it's been handled in an intelligent way. So this person was perhaps heavily burdened, and then they realized that the way they were doing things wasn't really working. It was just too much for them. So they just paused and started thinking of ways to manage things better. And maybe as they were thinking about things, they realized that some of the things they were carrying didn't actually need them to carry those things anymore. So maybe they realized there were certain things they could outsource or delegate to someone else. Maybe they realized that some of the people they've been helping haven't been choosing to pull their own weight, even when it's been possible for them to do that. So an example of that would be if there was someone who could easily take the bus to go and get things done, but they just expect that you're going to go to their house and pick them up and drive them to wherever they're going. And with people like that, like they might even know that you're a busy person and that you have a lot of other responsibilities, but they just don't think about it from your perspective, because it's their primary focus is on what's easiest for them. And that's unfortunate. But I'm also getting another example, which is about children who are who you've perhaps always taken to school and back in your car, and now they're old enough to take public transport to and from school. And if you can get them starting to do that, then that's obviously one less thing that you have to do. So those are just some things that might have tied in with this. I don't know the specific story yet, but yeah. The main point is that it looks like this fox has managed to offload their burdens, and they're quite happy about that because they were so weighed down before, and now things are sort of being managed without them having to do everything. So that's really nice. Now, I should say that even in the traditional Ten of Wands card, the burdened person there is almost done with their burden. So in that image, we have that person who's bent over with all their wands on their back, but they've actually almost reached the place where they can put the wands down. So they're almost finished with their responsibilities, which is why the Ten of Wands is the end of that cycle. I mean, it's been a tough cycle, but it is the end card of that cycle. Now, it's interesting Fox energy came through in this Ten of Wands card because there is an oracle card here that is titled Creative Solutions, and it has the message, think outside the box. View things from a higher perspective. So yeah, I think this is probably what's happened is that this burdened person did find some solutions to unburden themselves. The other thing I should say with tarot readings is the timings aren't necessarily fixed. So for maybe some of you this hasn't happened yet, but that might mean you're about to start thinking about your circumstances and seeing what you can do to lighten your load and simplify things in your life. Now, this is also a number 13 card, this oracle card, and that makes me think of the death card in tarot, which is about a significant transformation. So I'm feeling like perhaps these creative solutions might carry the potential for life-changing outcomes for you. In the past position, we've got the Devil card. Again, we can't get away from the Devil card. I think at this point I'm going to say we're being stalked by the devil because that energy just seems to show up consistently in every reading. But I still feel like we are making progress because we used to have the devil as the card at the bottom of the deck, and it's now becoming let me just say it's gradually moving from being a key part of the reading to being a temporary experience. And in this reading, it's actually moving into being something we've experienced in the past. So that's really good. Well done, collective. Well done. So the Devil card, it's associated with Capricorn energy. And I'm starting to feel like that's to do with the tenacity of this energy. You know, the devil just doesn't let go easily, hey? But in this reading, we're talking about something that had us trapped in a bad place. And I do feel like it's probably all these burdens that this person has been carrying, because obviously we can feel chained to some situations because so much is expected of us. So if there are so many responsibilities and expectations and we don't want to let important people down, so that can actually feel like a trap in a way because you're not free to go live your own life because you're just dealing with everyone else's issues. And as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about codependency and people pleasing. So maybe there's been an inability to say no when people are asking for help, or an inability to have strong boundaries in place to look after your own energy better. So definitely stuff like that can tie in with this sort of pattern. I've noticed in some families there's really only one child that ends up looking after the parents when they get older, for example, and the other siblings don't seem to accept or realise that they should be taking some of that load as well. And you can get that same sort of thing in workplaces as well. So some workers get away with doing the bare minimum and others are working their backsides off and covering a lot of responsibilities. So you do see these things unfolding. And I guess the reason it happens is that some people are really good at backing out of taking on too much responsibility, and other people are just not like that. So they will take on a lot of things because they feel like they should do what they can to be helpful. So I am feeling maybe in this reading, the devil energy might have come in because of a tendency to be too helpful. And the devil energy is tenacious, as I've just said, so it takes a lot of inner strength to shake that kind of energy off, to change a problematic mindset or belief system, to do things now that we've not felt able to do in the past. So if you have managed to unburden yourself and put this devil energy in the past, that's really, really good. Now, the card in the present is the Page of Cups, which is water sign energy, and I do tend to see it as a Piscean energy, and this is someone who really does just go with the flow. This energy fits really, it is taking me back to the astrology section because we were talking about the North Node in Pisces, because that is about going with the flow as well. And Pisces, obviously, as a mutable water sign, is perhaps the most gently fluid kind of energy there is. Now, the Page of Cups is someone who is quite psychic and intuitive, and they're also a dreamer and a visionary. So that's making me think that this is the kind of person who can come up with creative solutions. I feel like I'm being pulled to that creative solutions card a fair bit. And maybe, again, it's related to the astrology, because I was getting there that we need to work out a plan that allows us to move forward and feel good about our life overall, and not just be accepting success in one area of life at the expense of other things that matter. So I guess we are being guided to look for creative solutions, to think outside the box. If we're talking about burdens and responsibilities, this might be about finding ways to get things done that don't require us to be too hands-on. Now, the other striking thing in this Page of Cups image is the Ouroboros. I hope I said that right, but it's the symbol basically of the snake eating its own tail. Now, transformation is coming up again with that symbol. I mean, the snake itself is a symbol of transformation, but the Ouroboros is actually about how energies transform and get renewed, so they don't actually die, they just change form. It's about an eternal cycle of death and rebirth. So with transformation coming through strongly in this reading, I do get that sense that you're moving into a new cycle now. So that older version of you, that past version of you has died, but you're continuing on as a new person. So yeah, I do get that sense that putting those burdens down has definitely been life-changing for you. So I feel like in the past you might have seen all of those burdens, expectations, responsibilities, and commitments as being a permanent part of your life, like something you'd never really be able to release. But now you're realizing that I actually did manage to let these things go, and it's possible for me to have a better kind of life. So I feel like there are changes coming that will be good for you, and you just have to flow with them. And that is to do with the North Node in Pisces. And I'm getting that if any of those burdens you've released try to get up onto your back again, you're just going to have to be firm and say, no can do. Because those were the things that were showing up as the devil energy on you, the devil effect on you. So I feel like this is recognizing that there are people in your life who are really okay with the fact that you're struggling and making sacrifices. Like, they can watch you struggle and make sacrifices and not be bothered by it, as long as you're making their lives easier. So your discomfort doesn't bother them. The fact that you're really stressed doesn't bother them. The fact that your quality of life is crap doesn't bother them. So it's definitely coming through as people who are self-centered. And quite often, the sad thing is that these are not people who would reciprocate. So if you were in trouble and needed their help, they wouldn't be putting themselves out or bending over backwards to help you. They would just say, oh, sorry, I'm not free to help you. But, the expectation is that you will give up your life for them. So I guess be very aware that maybe these people might want to hook you back in. If they have a problem and they come to you making it sound like you're the only one who can help them, just, tell them you're not going to be able to do it, and make some suggestions for what they can do to get the help they need. So it's really about trying to keep these monkeys off your back. I feel like I keep talking about the devil that way. The devil energy has been a monkey on your back, and if you manage to get it off, then don't let it get back on. Like I said, devil energy means, these people probably aren't going to quit trying. So maybe that need to think up creative solutions is going to be an ongoing requirement. But I feel like really coming up with creative solutions is probably still preferable to the situation you were in before, where you felt like the weight of the world was on your shoulders. Now, the Page of Cups is very intuitive as well, so I hope that means that you can see through any game playing, and that also that the creative solutions come to you easily. We've got an oracle card here with a peacock on it. It's titled Extraordinary, and it reads, "There is a wild and impetuous uniqueness to you that deserves to be honoured." Ooh. Well. Now, I am linking this card to this Page of Cups energy, so I think you might actually be the kind of person who is going to come up with creative solutions fairly easily. If we happen to be talking about kids, I keep getting kids in my head, but if we're talking about kids, just keep pushing them into becoming more and more independent, and ultimately that's going to be the best thing for them as well. Now, the last oracle card here is titled Multidimensionality, and it has the caption, "Go Beyond the 3D." Now, this is from a deck that's titled Modern Merlin, and it's about magic and manifestation. So that is perhaps indicating that some of your creative solutions are going to be things that you somehow manifest, perhaps. So that's interesting. So maybe what you need to do is to ask Spirit more to get involved in your life and to bring you solutions to your problems. So you can just say, "Spirit, I've got a few things that I need to handle, and I would appreciate your assistance in managing everything." And maybe that's going to bring something in. Like I said before, I keep thinking about parents and children in this reading. And the example that's coming to mind now is that maybe you're a single parent and your work is really busy, and so you're paying for after school care. And even though you've got a system that works, you feel quite bad because your kids don't come home till late, and you've got that parental guilt. And then you go ahead and you ask Spirit to help you. And then out of the blue, your mother calls you and says she's moving closer to where you live, and then she moves in with you or near you, and she's happy to pick the kids up after school, and she's also happy to make dinner for you and the kids every evening. And so this works out amazingly well, because now you don't have to pay for the after school care, your kids are well taken care of, and you don't have to rush home and make dinner either. So it's basically an amazing magical solution, and your mum seems really happy about it as well. And I don't know, maybe you sweeten the deal out for her by helping her out financially, or giving her a break from cooking on the weekends or something. But that's the example that came to mind. But I do feel like it's that sort of thing where you put it out there that you would like something, a better solution for something, and then Spirit comes through with the answer, and it will feel like a magical solution. Now, this oracle card is a number 31. And that's interesting because 3 and 1 relate to the Empress and the Magician in Tarot, and they also relate to creation in numerology and new beginnings in numerology. So it all fits nicely with creative solutions. And it's also reducing to a 4. And because we had the number 13 on that other card, that also reduces to 4. And the number 4 makes me think of strong, stable foundations. And it also makes me think of the Emperor energy in Tarot. And I'm seeing the peacock now, which is also divine masculine energy, I guess. So as I've been doing this reading, I keep thinking of parents and mums in particular. So maybe this is for mums who are in divine masculine energy. And again, that's bringing me back to the single mum example. So someone who has to step into those more masculine roles of being the provider and the protector, as well as being the mum. So that kind of situation would certainly fit with someone who's felt heavily burdened. That's not for everyone, but I just have had that sort of energy playing along in my mind all the way through. But yeah, take it if it fits. But, you could certainly resonate with the storyline without being a parent or a single mum. Now, the card in the future position is a bit funny because it is the 4 of Cups, but it doesn't look anything like the traditional 4 of Cups card. So the traditional 4 of Cups card is about someone being bored or dissatisfied with their life. They've got 3 cups that aren't fulfilling to them, and then we see the universe offering them a fourth cup, which will be good for them, but they don't even see it or acknowledge it. Now, I don't really see that energy fitting in with this reading at all, so I'm just going to try and interpret this card as I see it and see if it makes sense. If I need a clarifier, I will get one, because like I said, this is a funny energy to have in the future position. Okay, so here on this card, the four cups are all in the middle of this card, and they're arranged in a balanced, symmetrical way. But there is a difference. So the two cups that are upright have these bright, colourful energies coming from them. And then these two other cups are kind of inverted, and the energies coming from them are sort of more muddied in colour. So this is making me think of someone who's working out that some of their cups are good and some of their other cups are not so good. And so the good cups are the ones where you can put your energy into them and they end up bringing in blessings and positive results for you. And then the not so good cups are the ones that take your energy and either give you nothing back or they give you more problems. So the two bad cups here, they're not even upright, which makes me feel like you put your energy in and that these cups can't even hold your energy because they're damaged cups that can't even stay upright. And the muddy colour there is actually saying to me that there's some sort of low vibrational energy that's already in those cups. And so your energy doesn't even have a chance of making a positive difference. So your energy goes in and it isn't even compatible with the energy that's already sitting in that cup. So it mixes, your energy mixes with that energy, and you get this muddy, result that isn't positive. So these bad cups might be people who are really low vibrational or really unhealed, and your energy isn't going to change that at all if they're not doing the work to improve themselves. Because if they're not doing the work to improve themselves, your energy is basically just being wasted on them because it's not going to improve anything for them. Now, the good cups here might be relationships as well, but they're good relationships that do give back to you. And the good cups here might also be jobs or projects that you work on. And when your energy goes in, there are positive outcomes and you're rewarded. So you might get bonuses or you get promoted or your business grows. And it's because your energy is having a positive effect and you end up reaping the rewards of that. So I do feel like this interpretation of this card makes a lot more sense with this reading. So I'm not going to get a clarifier card. In this storyline, you've been someone who originally was trying to help everyone, and what you've come to realize is that this is too much of a burden for you. But you're also coming to understand that some people can't be helped, and it's because they're not actually interested in getting themselves to a better place. So with this last realization, you're going to be a lot more discerning about who you're helping and where your energy is going. And in that way, you're going to have more energy to pour into the good cups. So these might be good cups that are already in your life, but you might also start finding other cups that you're interested in bringing into your life and giving energy to. So you might now find new hobbies, projects, side hustles, things like that. And really, you will be far better off giving your energy to good cups than to bad cups where your energy is just going to waste. I really like this. So the fact that you're becoming more discerning is going to mean really good things for you. So just that acceptance that not everyone can be helped, not everything can be fixed, and that some battles can't be won, and it doesn't matter how much energy you throw at these things, you're not going to change what's going on there. Your energy is precious and it shouldn't be wasted when it can be used to accomplish big things in other areas of your life. So that feels like a major message to get in this reading. And now I'm thinking back to the astrology. I'm thinking about that part where you had to make the right compromises. So I didn't picture this kind of scenario when I was talking about the astrology, but I guess the tarot is pointing out that there is something else to think about. So if there's something you're guided to do and there's a challenge from another part of your life, you basically also need to think about if that challenge is coming from a bad cup area of your life. And if it is, you probably shouldn't be so compromising if the thing you're feeling guided to feels like a good cup. So an example of this is if you are being guided to work harder on the career that you love, but you have an unsupportive partner who's really demanding and expects a lot from you, well, you might decide that working on your career is a better use of your time and energy, and that will then involve you becoming less available to your partner or deciding to end that relationship. It could also be the other way around. You could have a great relationship, but you have this horrible job, a boss that expects you to do ridiculous amounts of overtime and offers you no flexibility at all. So you might decide that you're just going to find a new job because you don't want a job taking over your life in that way. Or maybe it's about your family and your relationship. So your family doesn't like your relationship, or your partner doesn't like your family. So basically, you're being asked to work out which of your cups are the good cups. So your family might be the bad cups, or your partner might be the bad cup. But the point is, if you know which cups are good and which cups are bad, you should start prioritizing the good cups. So if you're moving towards your North Node, then maybe that's going to be the thing that feels good, and that should be prioritized over other things that really are just your energy being wasted on things. Now, you might not want to burn any bridges, but I don't think you should feel bad about disengaging from the bad cups if they're the things that are draining your energy. To be honest, sometimes it's only when you put up boundaries and start saying no that some people will start taking action for themselves and taking ownership of their own lives. So don't feel bad, because for all you know, you might actually be helping them out in the long run, because they're going to get motivated to start taking better care of themselves, perhaps. So that's what I've got with this reading. Right, so that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. My voice was sort of struggling a bit through the recording, so I hope it came through okay. But yeah, interesting reading. If you're still here, thank you for the time, taking the time to watch the video. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, leave a comment if you feel like it, and please subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my videos. To everyone who's already subscribed, thanks so much for your support. And that's it, everyone. I hope I will see you again in another video. Bye.